Hi everyone, thanks so much for coming today. The last 12 months has kind of gone in the blink of an eye, but it seems like it's been forever as well. So I am going to share some stories today. Richard, if we could have the next slide, please. I've kind of themed this thing, stories from my journey from Mars to Venus. And I want to talk a little bit about the Mars to Venus book. Back in the 90s, John Gray set out on an admirable goal. He observed that there were differences between men and women. Thank goodness I say, but we can talk about that later. And he thought, in the spirit of harmony between the sexes, he would try and explain the inner workings of each gender to the other. And he had a really good crack at that. It's a really good book if you get the chance to read it. But I can tell you, from living both, I can save you a lot of reading. All right? And so, let me tell you the first thing. Let me talk to the boys first. Boys, let me tell you. Trust me, you cannot possibly imagine just what your ladies are thinking and feeling, and the depth of emotions and the complexity of those emotions, and the fact that they can conflict all at the same time. You just got to accept you just can't get it. And I can give you a story from my own experience. I was on the phone to a girlfriend one night and we're chatting away, and she paused and she said, "Are you all right?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Are you crying?" And I went, "Yes." And she said, "What's wrong?" And I went, "Nothing." And we kept talking. But it felt good at the same time. Now, ladies, let me give you a tip. You know, you might have the most wonderful, most empathetic, most caring, attentive man on the planet. That's Bruce sticking his hand up in the back. But you know when you're having one of those conversations and you're kind of face to face and you're really explaining how you're feeling, and you know that look that comes back at you? You know that look, that kind of vacant look? And you're thinking to yourself, surely you get it. Surely that look says there's nothing there. Have you read my script? Thank you. And you're imagining that there must be something there. There's not. It's empty. And you just got to embrace that, because he really does love you and he's trying so hard, but he's just not going to get it. So just understand that you just won't understand each other. It's so much easier. Next slide, please. Okay, I have to do a little disclaimer here because I'm going to tell some stories. They're all real. But viewer discretion is advised. Richard. Yeah, so most of you have known Dana for 12 months, or known about Dana for 12 months. But there was a lot of pre-planning that had to go in the background before we actually got to this day 12 months ago where we played the video. And so I kind of gotten to the point where I knew that it was time. I couldn't not do Dana. And so I really thought about actually leaving the company, about going into state, about transitioning somewhere else, and then coming back, just because I wasn't sure about what the reaction was going to be. And I can tell you, we make it much worse in our own heads than the reality really is. So anyway, I got up the courage one day. I thought, where should I start with this? How do I do this? Surely somebody has done this before. And so I thought, HR is a great place to start. So I tapped Emily on the shoulder. I said, "You got a sec? Come into this room. I want to tell you something." Now, I had planned this. I thought of, okay, so, I knew Emily, but we weren't close mates. I didn't know her all that well. So I thought, what's the reaction going to be? Is it going to be, "Oh, good, yes, okay"? Or is it going to be, "You're going to what?" So I'd planned for these contingencies. What I didn't plan for was that Emily was really excited. That really threw me. I was relieved. I don't know quite why she was excited, whether it was for me in the transition or whether because she could find one other person in Canberra to be in the pride groups. I'm not sure which one that was, Em, but it was good anyway. So, and the big things for me really in that point was, how do I do it and where am I going to find the courage? Next slide, please, Richard. Yeah, so isn't that a good photo? That was my first CSC pass back in October 2016. 16, 15, I don't know, a couple of years ago, 2.5 years ago, whatever that is. Yeah, so I've lost my ability to do math too, just so you know. So I knew someone else had really done this, and I was hoping there was a guiding process. And so we had the conversations. It was very clear there was no guiding process. Somebody had transitioned about 6 years ago in Perth and wasn't with the company anymore. We didn't kind of keep a record, and we just agreed that we would have to make this up as we went. So again, brave new world. I think for me though, it became real. We had lots of good supportive conversations with people like Russell and with Steve Cowell, Jim Lefevre, really supportive, and that was nice. That was a relief. But the pivotal point was my conversation with Emily, because then it was real. I'd actually told somebody else. So then the next bit was, well, how am I, like when? Because Emily had great questions. How are we going to do this? When are you going to do it? What does it look like? What are you going to do? I went, I don't know. I hadn't thought of any of it. Next slide, please. So yeah, that photo is Jim Lefevre and I after we'd made the announcement. So we sort of really needed a date. And the Pride group, the Pride ERG, was looking for an event and a way to publicise Idahot Day, which is basically an international day that DXC recognises around the world, which is against all things bi transphobic. So I kind of said, well, I got this little video, because I made a video to tell my family and friends about me. And so the Pride guys went, yes, please, can you give us the video? So not only had I told someone else, now I had a date. I still didn't kind of know how, but we had a date. So we locked that in, and we planned for a morning tea. A morning tea down in the Bondi room down in Canberra. And, you know, I've actually been through a lot in my life. I've survived heart attacks, I've had open heart surgery. I've played water polo against some Olympians. Man, those guys are scary when they throw you around the pool. I've been trapped underwater in the surf when my leg rope got caught on a reef to the point where I blanked out and couldn't come up. Like, I've actually been really scared. I've never been more scared than I was on that day, on that morning, walking into my workplace in a dress. Can I tell you? It's comfortable. Although they were good heels, weren't they? Do you remember them? I was really scared. And so we had a plan. So the morning tea was 10 o'clock, I think. Jim Lefevre had come down. Russell was saying a few words. And the plan was that Jim was going to let everybody gather in the room. So about 10 past 10, he was going to introduce my video without just telling anybody it was about me. And so between 10 and 10 past 10, I kind of arrived. I walked upstairs. Actually, I called the lift, if I'm being true. I didn't work upstairs. And I was sort of rattling around, and I snuck in the back door while Jim was saying a few words and introducing the video. And I remember two things from that day, from that moment walking in. I saw Amanda's smiling face. Where is Amanda? She's not here. Amanda's smiling face, and it was really reassuring. And Pete Merrick, who didn't really know me, we only sort of met a little while ago, put his arm on my shoulder and he said, good on you. And that just kind of settled me. So the video played, everybody clapped. Jim asked me to come up the front. A lot of people went, oh. It was like, wow. I said a few words. I don't really remember what I said. I do remember Russell commenting on my killer heels, though. That was good. And that was it. Dana was born. Right, so I am going to share some stories about what it's been like since that day. Don't laugh. They're good. All right, now to some stories. What's made me laugh? Oh, man. What doesn't make me laugh? What's made me laugh? For all the planning that we did at the start of this thing, how to come out, how to do it at work, how to make it safe for everybody else, we did a really good job at that. But we forgot to plan for those people who weren't going to be here on the day. And so someone whose initials are Kim Morton was back in the office. Oh, sorry, did I get you? I'm sorry, Kim. So, general disclaimer, anyone who I mention by name, this is my way of thanking you because you've really made the journey interesting for me. So I'm walking through the office one day and Kim's sitting talking to somebody and she did a sort of double take and looked at me and she said, "So, what's this? Anything to tell me?" And I went, "Did you not get the memo? Like, how do you not know?" And so we went for coffee and I explained what was going on. But that reaction, I hadn't planned for somebody to say, "And what the?" And the other one, at least Kim could speak because the other one in the Canberra office had actually been away on leave for a number of weeks, was a visitor to the Canberra office, was based out of Brisbane. I won't give you his initials. He's a lovely man. And I walked past him one day when he was in Canberra. And that look that I was talking about before, you know, the empty kind of what the look? I got that because I said hello. I'll call him Bob. His name's not Bob. "Hi, Bob." And I got this look. I said, "Bob, hi, how was your holiday?" And there was nothing coming back. I said, "Bob, it's Gambo." And there was still nothing. And I got my pass. And I showed him my pass with my name like this. And he went, I said, "You okay?" And he went, And I said, "Did you not know what was going on?" And he went, We've since recovered. He can now talk to me, but the poor bugger was so stunned, and I didn't know how to help him. I just went, "I'm going to come back and talk to you later. Is that okay?" And he went, Oh, that was funny. Other things that made me laugh outside of work. Kids. So I have a 7-year-old. So my two adult kids are here, Jamie and Daniel. Say hi. Hi. They are not getting the microphone, just so you know. But my 7-year-old, so going and picking her up from school is a hoot. So we get to school, and one of the kids will go, "Is that your mum?" And some days she'll go, "Yep." And other days she'll go, "No, it's my cousin." Like, where does that come from? I have no idea. And then she'll go, "No, it's my dad." And the other little kids go, "But he looks like a girl." So kids are great because kids are so honest. One little boy came up to me one day and he said, "What's wrong with your voice?" I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, you sound like a man." I said, "Ah, well, I used to be a boy." And he went, "Oh, that's weird." And off he went. Another day we were picking Zaya up from school, and Daniel was with me at the time. And the carers were going, "Oh, I saw your video. It was great." I said, "Oh, thanks very much. Yeah, you look fantastic." I said, "Thank you." And they turned and they said, "Is this your partner?" And I looked at Daniel. And Daniel looked at me and we just went, "Nah, but thanks, bye." And he's not recovered. Like, have a coffee with him later. He's just not right. He's just not been the same since. It's PTSD, that's right. Some of you know I play music around town as well. And I was at a gig one night, and at a break in one of the sets, I was just sort of sitting having a break, and this fella comes up to me, and I'm going to call him Billy for the sake of the exercise. And Billy says to me, "Wow, I really like your music. You know, you got a great voice. Really that sort of, you know, Tracy Chapman, Stevie Nicks kind of lower register. How do you keep your voice down that low? Do you have to do a lot of training?" I said, "Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do a bit of voice work. Yeah. And I was born a boy, so that really helps." And and Billy stopped. And he turned around and he disappeared. And I went, "Oh, well, that went well." And and then Billy returned with 2 glasses of wine. And he said, "Now, I just want to understand what you just said." He said, "So you were born a boy?" I went, "Yep." "And you had a sex change?" I went, "Yep." He's right. So you're a fairly attractive woman. You do this sort of stuff a lot. You know, what happens when someone takes you home?" And I said, "Well, Billy, you're just going to have to take me home to find out." And Billy stood up and turned around again. He didn't come back with wine this time. And he didn't find out. So, poor Billy. um, getting your name changed on the DXC systems at work. Can I tell you, when I did my legal name change through the ACT government, that was easy. I filled in a form. A few weeks later, the form comes back and says, yep, we now see you as this person. So then I took that form, and in one day, I changed my license, changed all my bank details, I changed all my Medicare details. One day. Fantastic. In fact, I even had time for coffee. Like, it wasn't hard. Last week, 12 months in, I still had David on my desk telephone because they couldn't change it. But Bruce, where are you, Bruce? Up the back there. Bruce to the rescue. He fixed it as a gift for me. So I don't know how you did it, but thank you, Bruce. You just got to talk to the right people. I know Janine's going to start doing these ones to me, but I just got to tell you one more work story, only because. So for those online, Canberra's got a beautiful new office environment here, and in the main building, there's kind of a mezzanine level with some meeting rooms and full, floor-to-ceiling glass, and it overlooks the main floor of the building. And so one day we're in a meeting room, having a meeting with the team, and the guys were in the next meeting room putting some film on the bottom half of the windows. And the super grad, our defence super grad, who was in the room with us, kind of said, oh, why are they doing that? And we said, well, someone complained. And he said, oh, did a woman complain like somebody had looked up, up their skirts? And I actually said, well, no, it was a complaint from downstairs. And he got this real puzzled look on his face. and I just, some days you just can't stop. And so I kind of said, yeah, Elia actually looked up my skirt and he didn't bargain for it. So he was the complainant. So thanks for the screens on the windows, Elia. That's great. All right, next slide, please. Okay. What surprised me? Fluid retention. Can you just imagine the number of doctor's visits that I've had? The amount of sessions I've had with psychologists before I did this. Nobody warned me about fluid retention, for God's sake. Oh, it's just not fair. Emotions. There's so many, and they're so rich, and they just conflict. But it kind of feels right. I don't know. Anyway, I told you my emotion story before. Oh, okay, now. Doing puberty and menopause at the same time. Why are you laughing? It's not helping. Okay, men, I'm going to talk to the boys now. For those of you that have got daughters that have been through puberty, and are now of an age where you have wives who may be entering menopause, imagine both of those in one air-breathing carbon pile. Who wants to come and live with me for a week? Honestly, my boobs hurt, my emotions are feral, and I get night sweats. Nobody told me. Nobody warned me about this. It was all a surprise. Unconscious bias is real. And it's kind of nice. The one short story that I'll tell about my experience of that was when I had a man who I really respect, I really love to bits, with my best interests at heart, say to me, don't worry your pretty face about that. For a nanosecond, I was chuffed. There's a bit of affirmation there. And then I got mad. Unconscious bias is very real. But it surprised me. It's really interesting, actually, to look at the dynamics of a relationship between a male and a female. In the workplace, outside, it doesn't matter. I've got crusty old defence mates, one in particular I can think of that I've known for about 27 years. And he's the CEO of a small company. He's still in the Army Reserves. He's a bloke, and we had blokey kind of relationships back in the day. My relationship with him is completely different now. Treats me like a lady all the time, and it's very natural. So that's a really lovely thing. It's actually been the same at work, I have to say. So the richness of the relationships and the change in the dynamic has been really interesting. It's something that I didn't plan for and something I didn't think about beforehand. But the males now treat me and engage me as a female, and so do females. So thank you to everybody for that, because it makes a huge difference for me, and it's something that's very unconscious or subconscious, and it makes a huge difference. Another thing that surprised me is actually how much I've changed, but I'll come to that in a minute. So just park that theory. I can't drink like a man anymore. That was something I didn't really think through. Well, I can drink like a man, but God, I recover much like a woman, I tell you. And it's all to do with the physiology of your body, because when you go on the hormones, you lose muscle mass, you carry body fat in a different way, and it does change the way everything happens. Reverse parking. I totally lost the ability to reverse park my car. And people that have been in the car with me know that's true. But I know I'm going to get howled down in a minute. I know. But I've worked really, really hard, and now I get it right most of the time. So I've relearned how to do that. To one of Russell's points earlier about diversity, it's amazing how much more clarity I have and how much more effective I am, personal life and in the workplace. And so it's like, you know, sometimes you can't have hindsight without going forward so that you can look back. So in looking back, it's like I was in a kind of a veil that I was carrying around all the time, and I was always dealing with this noise stuff in the background. That's all been removed now. And so way, way more effective. So, you know, everybody should be able to bring their authentic self to work, whatever that looks like, because you will be way more effective, and every company should support that. Okay, thank you. Next slide, please. We're getting close to the end. What's been the hardest? The voice mismatch is my biggest area of dysphoria now. And I think it happens in my music life, and it happens in business life as well. Great example where I met a new client for the first time a couple of weeks ago, but I only met her over the phone. And she liked what I had to say, and so then we set up a meeting in Canberra with her broader team. And it wasn't until after that meeting I got this text message, and she said, "Can you talk?" And I went, straight back, "Yes, of course I can." Got all my notes out from the meeting, got prepared, what's she going to hit me with, what went wrong, what went bad. Anyway, got on the phone, and she said, "I just want to really apologise to you." And I said, "Why?" What I didn't know was she'd been referring to me as he in all of her internal communications with her team. And then after the meeting, the team rang her and said, "You need to fix this." So that was wrong. So that can be a bit, sort of hard to continue to deal with. And that's something that I'll work on more over time. Another one that we didn't really think through was my extended family, like aunts and uncles and so forth, actually grieving the loss of David. I said before that I'd changed. And in my Authentically Me video, I say in that I really am just exactly the same person, but I just look different. And the truth is, that's turned out to not be the truth. So it was certainly what I thought was going to happen, but you do change. I have those emotions. I think about things differently. I feel differently about certain situations. All the core stuff is still there, the love for your family and all of those sorts of things. But the way that you react in the environment is different. I am a different person. I carry myself differently, apparently. I talk about different things. I have different opinions. And so my family are now saying, because, I only see them, once every few months. They're now saying, we really like Dana, but gee, we miss David. And so we haven't worked out a way to deal with that grieving process for the loss of David. And that's something that we'll keep working through. And the final really hard one, I think, is for me, and this is my issue, is the guilt that I feel around removing the masculine from the role of dad. So my kids are great, and we have, the best relationship. And our relationship is different. We have conversations now that I would have thought we would never have. Don't laugh. You're not having the microphone. No. But like, Jamie's getting married next May, on the 4th of May. And of course I'm walking her down the aisle, but we're now having conversations about what dress I'm wearing and what her mum's wearing. So conversations we never thought we would have before. And so, you think of your own dad and think of your own mum. And when you think of your dad, you think of the masculine, the man, the male. So removing that is something that I feel guilty about and need to get through. All right, next slide, please. Okay, this might look like an odd photo to put up. And what it is a photo from Father's Day last year. And you might not see it too clearly on the screen, but it's essentially a photo of me with each of the kids, and it says Father's Day our way. Stay with me because it will come. The things that I've learned are that real change is absolutely possible. You'll have people tell you that a leopard doesn't change its spots, that a person's core values are always their core values, and maybe that's true. But I can tell you, if you define your what, absolutely understand your why, commit to action, so get in motion, the how will present itself. We could do a whole nother session on that, but just believe me, change, real change, is absolutely possible. I've learned that you can create your own normal. And what do we mean by that is I spent a whole life living my life based on what I thought other people would think of me instead of just being me. And now that I am me, it's like I've gone from living in black and white to living in full colour. Completely different arrangement. So I would champion anybody becoming their authentic self. Put love at the centre of everything you do is the other thing that I've learned. And these all apply to business as well as personal, by the way. So if you can, love, respect, however that manifests itself in your dealings with your client, in your dealings with your family, in your dealings with your friend and at work, you're going to get the right outcome because you're going to get the right human outcome as you get to the business outcome as well. And finally, and this can be hard sometimes, I've learned that there's a gift in everything that happens to you, even the hard stuff. So, you think of somebody like Turia Pitt, who was horribly burned in a fire. She was a marathon runner, horribly burned. She now has forums where she helps other people that have suffered horrible injuries rebuild their lives. So in what was something devastating for her personally, she's turned that into a gift for others. And you can think of countless, Paralympians, for example, who say they wouldn't have the life that they have now if it wasn't for the disability that they'd acquired. So there is a gift in everything that happens to you. It can be hard to find, but absolutely look for it because it's there and it will change your world. So, to the photo. The reason I put that photo there is if you look at the faces in there, you'll see that those lessons I've learned are absolutely true. They reflect everything I've talked about. Support, putting love at the centre, making your own normal. It's all there and it's all real. Next slide, please. Okay. I think the bandwidth quality is letting us down. Some of the, you would have seen me put up a post recently where I talked about really the essence of what this change means for me. And that is, when I looked in the mirror, the person looking back as David was someone that I knew, but I didn't really know. I didn't understand. I worked out how to be him. I worked out what he should think and do, but it was never natural. Now the person that looks back at me from the mirror, I don't even have to think about. It's just me. It's who I am. It reflects who I honestly am. And honestly, I'm free. And I never was before. So, to close, I just want to say thanks because you'll never understand the role that you as DXC members have played in allowing me to become free. And I cannot work. Remember, I was thinking of leaving and going somewhere else. I'm so glad that I decided to come out and hide in the open and just become me. And so from me to you, a massive, massive thank you. See you later.
And I might on that just open up to questions.
You can ask me anything and I will answer you, so be careful. Yes, microphone. Can we get a second mic? Second mic. Get on. Thank you. Name, rank, and serial number.
Just a quick one. Why did you wait 50 years? What made now the right time for you?
Yeah, great question. And I will answer it honestly. So I've known forever. Like, it's not been something that I've just decided to do in the last 12 months. So it's always been the case. And what happens with that is, when you live with that, you build a personal culture of secrecy and of hiding. And you go through life, and David, that was looking back at me from the mirror, you know, you're supposed to be a man, so I worked out how to do that stuff, and how to build a life, and how to get married, and how to have a career, and do all those sorts of things. But it never goes away. It's always in the background, and it manifests itself differently. And so when my marriage ended, I worked out that I needed to rebuild myself from the ground up. So go back to core values. And as a part of that, I decided that I couldn't do that and rebuild David, because I'll be building a lie. So I said, okay, well, now's the time. Yeah, it would have happened at some point, but now is the right time, because it was part of the actual, the gender transformation for me, I consider to be a correction. It's not a big deal. It's just actually now corrected to who I should be. And it's just one step in a broader human transformation, to be honest. So that's why now. Thanks. Good question. Thanks. Mi Young. Hi. Turn the switch up. Put it close.
Is it on now?
Yes, it is.
Oh, hello. Okay. So I thought it was really interesting when you shared with us about how your extended family had grieved for the loss of David. Did you at any point also felt that same kind of grief? I mean, you just mentioned it felt like a correction, but I mean, David was a significant part of your life, and you had gone through so many experiences through life as David. Did you also go through some kind of internal grief process, or in the fact that those experiences in the past can't be repeated or done again as experienced new as Dana?
Yeah, another great question. Thank you. This is almost like a therapy session for me. So the short answer is no, I don't grieve for David at all. I'm very thankful for what he taught me, and for the experiences that I had, and for the kids that he gave me. But no, I don't grieve for him, because I'm actually celebrating. I'm thankful that he was part of building the person that I am today, but now I'm the person I am. So I don't miss him at all. Thank you. One more.
Hello.
Hi.
Thanks so much for sharing your story with us,
You're
Dana.
welcome. Is that on? Is your mic on? Or closer?
I think it is.
Yep.
Hello.
No, it is.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
I remember seeing your video a year or so ago and thinking, wow, what a terrific thing. And I think that many of us are on a journey in terms of being our authentic selves, and whether that takes the form of a gender realignment or a gender correction.
Thank you.
Or not. I think that what you've done through your demonstration and your actions, and what you've done today by coming back, and thank you for coming back and talking about it today, is to inspire all of us to think about our authentic selves, and what it means to be, and how we can best exhibit ourselves. And I appreciate you saying there's a lot of noise in the background sometimes, for all of us, I think, in being the people that we think other people want us to be. And the closer we can get to being the person that we want to be, perhaps the more at peace we can be. And we're all on our own journey there. So thank you for that.
Well, you're very welcome. Thank you. Thanks for those words. And you're quite right. You know, authenticity sets you free. It's very simple. And you use the word at peace. That certainly is a feeling that happens. And there's also a lightness that comes with being your authentic self. So I don't consider myself brave or courageous, as some people have called me. I just think of myself as somebody who was desperate, who needed to survive. And that's what I did. but I'm absolutely willing to be a champion for anybody who wants to become their authentic self. So I'm more than happy to have a coffee if you need one. Thanks, Stu. One more. Thank you. I think, how are we going for time?
More a statement than anything else. You are a close friend of one of my uncles, and you were key support for him, the breakdown of his marriage many years ago. And we spoke about you at length.
We don't tell those stories.
No, we won't talk about that story. But we spoke about, life and career and things like that. We were together over Christmas, and you became the subject. And he asked me how you're finding life, and I said, look, coming to work and seeing you is normal. And we always say hello to each other. And he said, at the core of who you were as David, was someone who was a strong friend, an advocate for someone, a crutch for people, support. And he said, I hope that's still there. And I said, that's the person I say hello to every time I see you in the office. You're a strong individual. You're someone who cares not just about yourself, but about the people around them. And you actually make the place a more inviting place by being who you are. So the authentic you that you went through the correction to find, I think, was always there. But those key strengths that you've got that people knew before, they're the ones that I've come to know. And I salute your courage and the person that you are is just, I'm glad you're hiding out in the open, like you said, amongst us. So thank you.
Thanks, Ilya. Thanks for your comments. All right. Thanks, everyone. I think it's into questions, and I think we're about out of time. So thank you once again for the amazing support that you've been for me. And if you need a glass of bubbles, I'm your girl. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, everyone online for tuning in as well. See ya.